Hello, writers. Happy Monday morning. Ted, are we jump starting again today? Got the cables?
We are Jumpstart. We'll go back to last week and go right into the, this whole foot on path thing, I think. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm great, but I think we do need to recap a little bit. So last week, if anybody wants to go back to follow the series, we talked about like getting started and what it takes to get started, and how now, Ted, I think you lean into how amazing it is once you do, right? So we talked about last week, you are a solopreneur. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you are a solopreneur? Like what are the benefits to you?
Yeah, I think that's I'm reflecting back, I'm always careful, and you know this about me, Jade, like I'll put things out like, hey, just get started, put foot on path. I just want to rewind that a little bit. I'm not changing my message. I'm just simply going back and going, but I'm not minimizing the emotion and how hard that is. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard to lose sight. So I thought what I'd do this week is just kind of, let's talk about the motivation behind putting foot on path, like kind of the rainbow at the end. And so this week, what I'd encourage people to do is really settle into what the true benefits of being a solopreneur can be. And we touched on the cliche things and these things like, we hear, do what you love. Well, if you're all with us today, you already have found a love, and it's called writing. Mm-hmm. And now you want to figure out, can you make a living doing it? Right. But if you don't have the motivation behind you to really understand the true benefits to being a solopreneur outside of all the scary things, because like you go from a W-2 paycheck with benefits and all this other stuff, all that practical stuff, and people non-believing and people think you're crazy because you're gonna go make money writing. Really? You have all these different things. Well, what outweighs that, in my opinion, are the benefits. And it's easy for a guy, 13 years in to go, hey, these are the benefits, but you'll never know if you could benefit from the same things. And the first one, and again, as cliche as it sounds, I'll never forget, we talked last week about how I started, and I started incrementally. I kept my job, but I also started reaching out to different mentors. And one of the things,
know that.
Yeah. And so I started reaching, because I didn't know anything. So I had my man, Greg, who was the guy that said either or to me. And then I started to reach out, and I had went through this leadership class in Baltimore, and I reached out to a fellow colleague that went through this leadership that had her own financial advisory firm. And I asked her for coffee, and I said, what should I do? Like, how do I set this up? Because I had incorporated, like Greg told me to, one of the first steps. And she told me, just put all the money in that account. You don't have to spend any of it. Don't do whatever. You have your check. You're living off that. Just put money in the account. And at the end of that conversation, because she was guiding me financially. And at the end of that conversation, I'll never forget, she just kind of chuckled, and she's like, and this is somebody that went through this leadership. She goes, I'm just so proud of you. Right. And I'll never forget that, because it was one of these moments where she had heard me talk about this passion to go do this thing several years before. And here it was come to fruition to a degree. But I'll never forget what she told me in that moment. Remember, she owned her own financial firm. So she was a solopreneur, not a solopreneur. She had employees, but she said, you haven't even fully realized the biggest benefit of being a solopreneur. And she said, time. She goes, it's going to change your life. Like, if you want to go on a picnic today, you can go on a picnic. And she went through this thing, and damn if she wasn't right, Jade. We all have aspirations going into this thing to say, hey, we want to go make a living. We want to make financial things. We make financial goals and business plans and all this other stuff. But what are the true benefits for you as an individual? It's not me. I mean, time is a big thing, but it may sound cliche again, but if I want to take the day off, I don't call my boss and say, hey, I'm taking a PTO day. I just kind of say, hey, I'm going to take the day off, and I rearrange my schedule and I do what I need to do. But time is also, and it's a mental thing, because remember, as a solopreneur, your whole business is founded on choice. Like, look, you may be giving up a little bit of money or a writing assignment, but you have that choice and all the rest of that. So part of what I just encourage people today to do is start thinking through what would be the true benefits. So some people would say all the way down to creativity. For example, writers, marketers, they work in a W-2 job, and I'm not pooping on W-2 jobs, so don't do that.
I'm sitting here and I have one, and happily so.
Well, exactly. And the people that we're talking to today are on a journey.
Yeah.
and they're going after the journey that I'm speaking to. And so,
Yeah.
but you may find 2 years from now that you have creativity. You can take the writing assignments you want versus the ones that are given to you. And you have to explore all that. So behind this whole put foot on path, I do think it's time for you to really understand, like, what are the true benefits, or what could the true benefits be for you as a solopreneur?
It's so funny sometimes when you're talking, it makes me think of certain things that I hadn't thought of, like when we originally broached this. But I also feel like the reason this week and last week are so interlaced is that if you don't sit right now and outline those benefits, when things get really scary and the fear and the difficulty outweighs what could potentially be a benefit, you're going to stay in that same place. And when you are highlighting the benefits and what things can be like on that side, it is going to be drive to push through that uncomfortable, scary, difficult moment, right? Because you know what is coming on the other side.
So yeah, it's well said, Jade, like perspective. And, I guess the best I can do is, like, and what you're doing is encouraging people to try to gain that perspective perhaps before it even comes.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
A perfect example of what you just said. Perspective, right? Like, as a solopreneur, you will always be scared. Like, there's something financially, and you think, like, I've said it dozens of times. I said it at least a dozen times during the pandemic to my wife or whoever would listen. Maybe I should just go get a W-2 job. Right? Now, the flip side to that perspective, which is more powerful, which is what you were pointing out, a W-2 job, like, there was people laid off during the pandemic. And they lost their W-2 job and they lost all their income. And here I was going, maybe I should, by fear, maybe I should go get a W-2 job. Well, I'd have to be fired by numerous people to be out of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a solopreneur, I would never say base your whole business on one whale client. So you got to go out there and get a book of business, whether that's 5 clients or 10 clients.
Yeah.
That's perspective. But we get so in our heads sometimes as solopreneurs, all the things in our way that prohibit us from going down the path. And your thing of thinking through the perspective, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, you need that motivation, I think, for anything. And also tied all the way back as well, Ted. Ted did a whole vision workshop. If you want to create a vision, I highly recommend obviously doing it. But it also goes into that, Ted, right? Because I feel like if you're going on this path of being a writer, there's a certain vision that you had and you created. And these benefits will tie into them, right? And it will
100%
all be together. So I think that all of our sessions are like these puzzle pieces that are creating the full picture. And I also do think, Ted, like what you said, it was so good. I feel like we need to acknowledge everybody listening to us. And I can truly, from the bottom of my heart, say, like, I am proud of you. Like, you listening, I am proud of Ted too.
Yeah.
You listening, I am so proud of you, because it is scary to go down these paths. It is scary to desire change, and it is scary to take the steps towards the change. So I'm proud of you for doing that. And I'm so happy that you're in our world, and we welcome you with open arms. That's why we love success stories, right? Because it's like people's dreams coming true, these benefits, these visions, these things happening in real life. And it's better. There's just nothing better. It's why I have a W-2 job.
And it's a wild journey, and the benefits that you guys are laying out, like Jade's saying, is you may have to lean into one benefit more than the other at times. Like, revenue could be down, but now you have more time. You know what I mean? Like, time may be crunched, but guess what? You have unlimited earning potential. And you're gonna have to remind yourself of those things, because as natural human beings, I mean, I'm not saying that correctly. As human beings, naturally, we go to the negative, right? And so what we're encouraging you today is to start putting pen to paper, just like we did with the vision stuff. Put pen to paper, and what are going to be the true benefits that you're going to want out of this journey. And it's a whole lot more than just the financial goals and all of that. You got to think through this one a little bit.
And again, we talk about it all the time, the writer's life, right? This is exactly what the benefits are. And nobody's writer's life is the same. So this is you creating that,
That's right.
So you're the creator again. We've talked about this before, of your destiny from here on out, right? Like, if you're taking control. So love that. Okay, so this week's homework, they're going to write out the benefits of why they are going on this path, of what is going to be on the other side for them, and once they lead themselves through it. And I'm excited. I would love everybody to share, because this I feel like is a really fun one for everyone to share, don't you think, Ted? Of like what they see the benefits of being a solopreneur, and where they think it's going to lead them.
Share with other people.
Yes, no, on our
Oh,
at the bottom, like go right
oh,
down.
I love it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
like,
love
let
that.
us know.
I love that.
And I always come
Yeah.
back and I always look at everything. So please do that. I would love
Yeah.
to do that. Awesome.
Absolutely.
And then next week, we're going to talk a bit about, I guess it goes, you started hinting towards it today. You talked about diversifying your client list and having multiple clients. So next week, we get a bit into diversifying your skill sets. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what does that mean? Yeah.
What does that mean? Okay. We'll see everybody then. Thank you, Ted.
Cool. See ya.